Good evening and welcome. Happy Monday to you and welcome to 2021's amazing event with Alice Inouye. It is the year of, the year of perspectives. Sorry, I'm very unprofessional right here because I have my notes down here. But my name is Nolan Hong and I'm going to be your MC and host for the evening. And I know some of you are just trickling in because of a few technical issues with the website and all that. So want to say thank you so much for your patience and understanding. And if you're joining us live or if you're watching us on tape delay, thank you so much for spending your evening with us here today. Alice is waiting in the wings and she's got an amazing night prepared for you all. We've been working really hard on this event because last year about this time we were in a ballroom filled with 300 people and it was an amazing night. We had so much love and energy and joy in there and such great perspective for the upcoming year. And of course with this year we had to change things up, so we knew we had to make it bigger and even better, and so we've put together an amazing night for you. Alice has got an incredible presentation. She's got some fantastic guests from all over the world, and we've got some really cool stuff that we have for you, so we're really excited to share that with you all. And I want to give you all a chance to log in and get in here, so I just want to give you a heads up that we are broadcasting live here in beautiful Kaka'ako here at SALT at Happiness U, socially distanced of course, but Alice is like right there. and so just know that she is excited and ready to talk to you all. For those of you who are joining us for the first time and are not necessarily familiar with Alice, where the heck have you been? No, I'm just kidding. Alice is not only an astrologer, but she's a life coach. She's the founder of Happiness U, and we just have an amazing night of content, and we're also going to be interacting with you as well. So I know some of you have already put stuff in the chat box below, and so just know that we'll be monitoring the chat. So if there's any questions or comments that you want to send our way, we'll be checking it out throughout the night, and if we can, we'll have Alice answer anything that you have throughout the night. But I know we have some friends that are joining us right now. We have some friends from Kailua. We have people from all across the globe. I know Tana is on here, and our friend Johnny and Mary, and we got so many people watching. So thank you guys for joining us. We're really excited to have you here tonight. And I know you're not here to just see me talk. I know you want to see Alice. So let's go see if Alice is ready to meet you all. Alice, you ready for the people?
I'm ready. Hi, Nolan.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, here she is, Alice Inouye.
Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, who would have thought that in 2021 we would be here coming to you virtually, and it is just not easy. So thank you for all of your patience as you start to find the new way to tune in with us. So when I realized that the only way we could do this event that I've been doing for 15 years live in person, I thought, okay, so if I can have Jamie and Nolan help me do this virtually, how can I make it interesting? I wanted to offer a lot of value to you because of all that we went through in 2020. So I started thinking, how can I get more perspectives? So I found the Astro Twins, and they're going to tune into us from New York and Washington. We have Jessie Lee, she's tuning in from Malaysia, and we have Mark Dodich from Portland, all really established prognosticators that I thought would be really interesting to interview them and see if what they say is similar to what each other says and if it's similar to what I say. So I really hope that you have amazing value today. Thank you so much for joining us every year, and I know we have some newcomers. We want you to take away, just take away the knowing that we're in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. And I know it feels like there's a lot of chaos out there, but I want to give you a holistic view of what we have to look forward to in 2021.
So although we wanted to have our guests live with the different time zones across the globe, that wasn't possible. But Alice was able to meet with and pre-record her conversations with her guests earlier this week. So we've got some amazing interviews lined up for you right now. And the first one we're going to bring up to you is our first guest, Jessie Lee. So Alice was describing a little bit about what Jessie brings to the table. Jessie is a celebrity consultant. She's a global speaker and a fully trained certified professional instructor of tarot, Chinese metaphysics, and Western divination. And she founded her company Soleil Trinity Resource in 2010, and now is one of Malaysia's leading Chinese metaphysics consultancy firms. Her skills, accuracy, and razor-sharp instincts as the lead consultant has led her to successfully expand her reach all the way from Singapore to Hong Kong to the Philippines, Australia, United Kingdom, and right here in the US. And with over 20 years of diverse experience, Jessie is now an independent household name in Chinese metaphysics with a string of A-list clientele, including high-profile entrepreneurs, top management of global brands, celebrities, royalties, and politicians from both the local and international scene. And now she's going to be talking with you all. So we all get to be part of this elite group of listeners. So let's go ahead and listen in as to what Jessie has in store for 2021 with her conversation with Alice.
Jessie, we're so happy to have you here today. I'm so honored that you would join us. I would love for you to start out by sharing a little bit about this upcoming year, 2021. It's the year of the metal ox. Can you just tell me more about what you're seeing and what we can all look forward to?
Thank you so much, first of all, Alice, for having me. It's really my honor to be part of your event guest. All right. So in terms of Chinese astrology, Meta Ox year itself, right, when we actually derive the outcome of the year, we actually look at the birth chart of the year. Now, the birth chart means that every year, right, we transit into a new year on a stipulated time and date. Okay. Most of the time, it will be February 4th, but this year itself, it will be February 3rd. At midnight, probably near midnight, about 11 p.m. So when we actually derive the Chinese astrology chart based on that, we realize that the Meta Ox year, right? Okay, in short, you try to pictorize itself like the image of a geyser. You know the geyser when you're near the hot springs and all that. So overall image you see, right? Okay, it is like it's beautiful, it's attractive on the outside, but it can be dangerous and it's like a lot of stress and pressure on the inside. So overall, the Meta Ox year looks something pictorial like that. Okay, so a lot of time people always derive the meaning of the year looking into only the year. But for me itself, I like to look into more detail. So when you actually have the year, the month, the day, and the hour that's derived on the actual transition, right? We can see that the year itself is more like something is beautiful on the outside, a lot of things that looks good on the outside, but there will be a lot of pressure and stress that is actually taking place in the inside.
Mm-hmm. Can you give me examples of like what that would be? Like if in
Now, okay, one of the things, if you transcript this into a hexagram of I Ching, you will see that overall metal year itself, right? Okay, metal bull year itself, you will see that it's like the geyser looks very nice. So you see that everything outside, it will be very tempting. It will be a lot of allurement, like things are luring you into something. And then you can also see that like people are in a way like very emotionally, reacting into everything that's going on around them. So if you look at the whole chart itself, you will find that the metal and the water element is actually very strong. All right, very strong in the sense that now water represents emotions. So overall, you will see that people are generally more emotional. They are more like impatient. They are more affected by like anger, frustrations. Okay, so this will be the general outlook, that impact on the society for 2021. So when you see that, and because of due to a lot of stress and pressure going on inside, you will see that from the outside, everything looks good, everything looks so tempting, right? Everything looks beautiful, but internally there is a lot of like illusions, a lot of deception. So there will be like overall the year itself, there will be a more year of deceit. There will be more like scams going on. There will be more people trying to actually, in a way, say something, but mean something else, okay? So generally, that will be something that we have to look out for. And of course, when we see metal, water, emotional year itself, right, people generally have more fear right? Due to the fear in part of it, right? People then will react into more like frustration. They will easily get angered. You will see more of this like keyboard warriors on the internet, right?
Yes.
People are like venting out their frustrations online and other things. So this will be basically one of the general outlook that will impact on the emotions generally in the society. And you know that everything in a way evolve around the energy of the emotions of the people.
Yeah.
So even though economic outlooks, okay, when people are more fearful, so generally it will be like even economy itself will be a lot like affected because of the high fluctuation of water. As you can see at the geyser itself, right, the water itself, like at some moment it will be sprouting really high, and at some moments it is not really like sprouting out any water. So you see that this high and low fluctuation sort of like water itself will greatly impact on the economical outlook, okay, throughout the year as well.
So do you feel that emotions also will reflect the emotion of people? So what you shared was sort of collective. We'll see deceit, we'll see a lot of emotional things that sort of kind of impact the economic world. Do you think people personally will also have something similar to like the geyser where it looks good on the outside, but inside dealing with lots of pressures and tension?
Yes. Okay. So overall, you will see that people are trying to hang on to where they are. Like people are more like a void or empty inside. They are trying to put up a look. People are trying to actually be someone that they are actually not. So overall, if you see a metal water strong year, right, okay, people get emotional, and there are also chances of more and more people will get depressed. And one thing, if you look at the whole chart itself, right, one of the very weak element, okay, in the chart itself is fire element, which is totally hidden underneath, because all you see is just water outside, and the fire, which is actually burning or heating up or boiling up the water, it's all hidden inside. And fire, when it comes to Chinese astrology, is relating to happiness, is relating to joy. So you can see that overall people are emotionally on the outside, but they are lacking of joy and that fulfillment internally. So by going on like this, you can see that overall in 2021, more and more people will go into depression. More and more people will lose hope. They wouldn't be able to see that light, that fire that is in a way that should be like burning brightly. All they see is just like emotional water fluctuating all over the place and all these things.
Okay, wow. So that's kind of heavy. It feels really sort of like not really like a lot to look forward to, but I know there always is something to look forward to. So I have two questions for you. One is, given the energy that you just shared, what can a person do that is conscious to help themselves perhaps gain more of that fire? That's the first thing. I will do one question at a time. So I want you, what you just shared, I want you to share with me, what can we do to counter some of that?
Now, you see, at the end of the day, when it comes to Chinese astrology, right, it's always about yin and yang. So, right, there's always like the yang counterpart of things, and there's always a yin counterpart of things. So overall, you see 2020 and 2021, generally it is like years of lessons. It's a year of transitions. There's a lot of change going on because water relates to a lot of changes, a lot of movement.
Yes.
So when we go through a year like this, right, okay, we expect it's like everyone who realizes, as you say, awareness is very important. Why people attend like sharings or talks like this is because we want to gain awareness. We want to be like forearmed, because forearm is for one. As in, like, you know, when we know about this, so that now that we know that the world itself is always in the equation of yin and yang, it's always balanced. So you know that there are always like two groups of people in general, right? Either you are the type of person who is like lacking of that awareness, who will fall into whatever that is external energy that will brings you in. You will fall into that fear, that emotional reaction. You will fall into that deceit, that lacking of joy, that lacking of fulfillment. Or you can have the awareness to remind yourself to always stay in the equations of the yang polarity. And the yang polarity is, right, how to actually make use of all this fear that's going on in the society to your benefit. Example, if you are in business, you know that a lot of times a lot of business strive, even economy strive based on emotions. When people are fearful, there are always ways or things that we can do in order to enlighten them, to give them the light, to shed the light so that they can, in a way, see the light at the end of the tunnel. Example, All right. So the strategies for all the businesses or even personality is like personally, we have to remind ourselves in order to always see the cup as half full rather than half empty, because it's all a matter of perspective. Because whichever our perspective is, right, that actually defines whichever of the equation that we are standing in. Example,
perfect.
the people who always have this victimized mentality, there are always people who likes to blame. They always like to blame to the environment, the external factor, the economy, the leadership. If they keep on blaming into everything around them, these are the people that will continue to struggle and suffer throughout the year. All right. Whereas there are people who always sees like there are always like a silver lining in all the gray crowds. Okay. So these are the people that will say that there are opportunities. Definitely in 2021 compared to 2020, there are much more opportunities as everything is moving compared to 2020. So you see that the Gaza itself has like pent up so much pressure, so much like movement in them. So you see that the whole 2021 is like things are start moving. But the thing is, we have to question ourselves: are we moving with the basic of fear? Is fear is the component that is driving us, or passion is the component that's driving us? That's very important. So if we move forward with passion and hope, then the thing is we can create our destiny at the end of the year by doing things and seizing all opportunities that arises throughout the year. But there are people who always sees the year itself as a punishment. They will see it as, oh, it's going to be a bad year. It's like it's a continuous of the 2020 effect. Okay, everything is like, it's emotional. There's a lot of anger. Okay, like the country is not doing good enough for us. No,
Yes.
if you go into that perspective, that's when the people will in a way chosen to suffer. So right, they will continue in that loop. So the thing is, knowing astrology for me, my personal point of view is, you understand what's upcoming and you try to get yourself out of that loop and out of that cycle. So we have the awareness to actually be conscious, knowing that this is majority that people will fall into it. But we are on the other side of the equations because we know about this. We know what's coming up. We know that there will be more scams. There will be no more of this deceit, okay, lies and deceptions. So if we know for this, we have the awareness of not acting emotionally, not acting hastily into making any decisions that will eventually lead us to all these traps, okay, of anything that looks good on the outside.
I love that perspective. You know, when I was researching and looking for someone to come and talk to my audience on this Chinese astrology, what you shared in the beginning, I understand, but what you shared in the second part just now about how we have a choice and that we're trying to balance the yin and the yang, and it depends on where we stand, which determines the outcome of the year. That's like the hope that I felt is so necessary, because if we just start thinking, oh, it's all bad, it's going to go bad, everyone's scamming us, and we get into that, then we can easily go downhill. So I love what you shared. I love what you shared. So you're saying that there's hope if we make choices to live above the line, so to speak, and we make choices. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, I believe that everyone has a choice. As in like, I believe in like, life itself is only one third that's fated based on Chinese astrology, because we always look into the cosmic trinity, the heaven, earth, and human luck component.
Yes.
Whatever that is determined by the heaven is something that we cannot change. Example, whatever that's fated, whether we are born in Taiwan or we are born in Malaysia and currently living in Hawaii, all right, or currently still living in Malaysia, that's always like something that we, in a way that they are part of it that we can't change. It's fated. Whether we are born as a female or a male, into what family background, that is fated. But it's only one third of our life, 33.33%. But the rest of the two-third itself is like 100% within our control, where we choose to be. All right. For instance, if you're born in Taiwan, eventually you end up in Hawaii. You change the environment. The earth part changes. The feng shui part changes. Now we can choose the people around us as well, like where we choose ourselves to be. Example, like all your audience here choose to attend your events, and you always spread happiness. That's your core value. And these people choose to be amongst people who are positive, spreading positive value, and that's the choice. Because people can choose not to attend any of this. So making that choice means we are creating our environment that is conducive for our own growth. And
Yeah.
of course, the final, which is also the most important part, is human luck. Our action, our decision, our belief means whatever that we choose to do after knowing about the strength, the weaknesses, or what's going to happen, what are we going to do about it? And this is a part, that's why people say even God help those who help themselves.
Yeah.
So if we know so well that this is going to happen in the market or in the year itself, so what are you going to do about it? A choice that we have to make. So all the time I always say is that when a person says that, oh, I have no choice, it's a very common statement. A lot of
Yeah.
people says, no choice, I have no choice to do it. Whenever we decided that we have no choice, it's already a choice taken.
Yes, it's so, so true. It's so wonderful to talk to you about some of the same ideals and philosophies that I also have. So if you were going to talk to somebody and they said 2020 was just a hard year, I lost my job, I lost my family, I lost this and that, what would you share with them about 2021? Because it's an environment that we're moving into that could be supportive, but in a different way. What would you say to them?
Now, I would just say is that 2021 will definitely be better than 2020. But let's say if you find that you are in a way suffering from bad luck, that things are not going your way. Now, this is just, to me, it's a wake-up call, because this year of 2020 and 2021, we are going into a transitional year. That's why it's a year of changes, a lot of pent-up pressure. Why do you have that pent-up pressure in the first place? Because we are not totally free. We don't free ourselves with choices. We don't free ourselves with options, right? A lot of time, right, people suffers from certain circumstances. It's like because we don't really grow ourselves as a person as a whole. Because this 2 years itself is just merely a year of lessons. It's a year for changes, a year to grow. And normally, people who suffers from this are people who are reluctant to change.
Yeah.
So I think the questions we have to ask ourselves is, what is stopping us from change? And most of the time, the answers always brings us back down to fear. And as you see that this year itself, the heightened emotions of fear is actually very overwhelming for the year. So it's really a time for us to ask ourselves, what is really stopping you from changing? Example, I know it's like, Alice, you always used to do like actual event, on ground event. And now that you're actually like transiting, making that change into online event, doing it virtually, that is a change. Adaptation. We have to adapt. We have to accept that the environment, this is the things that's going on. It's not on the heavens now, it's not something that we can change. The pandemic is like, or any natural disasters that's coming up, it's not something that we can change. But we can change our action. We can change the way that we do things. We can adapt to it. So overall, I would just say is that 2021 will be a terrific year if we can adapt to that change, if we can grow ourselves, if we can prepare ourselves. Because to me, merely good luck happens to those who are prepared. Because when preparations meets opportunity, good luck happens.
Yes.
So whenever we are not prepared, every year, no matter what the year is going to look like, no matter how great the year is going to be, if we never get ourselves prepared, we will never go through that good luck.
You know, that is so, so true. And I think that's what I've loved about astrology once I found it. It's not about predicting the future. It's not about telling somebody what's going to happen or not happen. It's about like a weather report, giving you sort of this is what it looks like. And then you still have to take action as you go through the year. So very similar. Yeah. So
because I always say, I always say one thing, as in like at the end of the day, it's like no one can predict our future, because we can only get ourselves prepared. Because if every astrologer can predict our future, it means that we are not taking charge of our destiny.
Yes, I hear you 1000%. Jessie, thank you so much for spending your time with us all the way from Malaysia. We're so grateful to have you here today. The words of insight that you shared is very, very, very helpful. And I really appreciate your time. And I hope when all this is said and done, we could invite you to Hawaii and we could see you in person.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Jessie. Oh, wow. It was so great to listen to that interview. I want to share the behind the scenes a little bit on that. When Jessie was our first interview in the morning. And when she first started talking about the deceit and the geyser and all that, I thought, oh my God, it's so negative. But then I love the way that it turned out. And really, it is true. There's the yin and the yang. I think all of us tune in and we want a better year. We want an amazing year. We want something all positive and not negative. but that's not possible. So what I really appreciated about Jesse's talk was how she could talk about the year and give us really, really good insight. And it allows us to kind of live in that joy and create more of what we want to do. Now, our next interview, is Mark Dodich. I'm excited to hear from him, and I'm excited to share with you what he had to say. Nolan, can you give us a little interview?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was really excited when you said that we're going to have Mark back on, because for those of you who joined us back in September for the Happiness U 7th anniversary event, Mark joined us. And this was prior to 2020 ending, and he had given us a little insight into the presidential race and all that. It was so interesting. And we saw that it actually kind of played out the way he said. So when I saw that he's going to be in our lineup, I was like, oh, awesome. Mark is a really great guy, and he's got so much to share. And for those who are not familiar with Mark Dodich has provided astrology and intuitive consultations internationally since 1980. So when I was born, that's when he started. So he's been doing this a long time. Not to say that you're old, Mark, but you get what I'm saying, right? So he holds a CAP, which is a Certified Astrological Professional title from the International Society of Astrological Research. He is the past president of the Oregon Astrological Association and publishes the AstroMark newsletter. And since leaving the corporate world of industrial sales to do astrology full-time over 25 years ago, he has published hundreds of articles. And he's regularly heard on the radio, he's seen on television, he speaks at conferences and metaphysical venues. And Mark runs a full-time consulting practice in Portland. And it includes traveling from the pandemic, pre-pandemic, of course, and he has been doing writing and has a busy lecture schedule. So we're really fortunate that we were able to get him on again. And metaphysical subjects and techniques that empower spiritual growth, that's the continual source of interest for Mark. So you kind of get the idea that this is going to be a really exciting time for him. So of course, he's done a lot of research, and he's prepared for this amazing talk that he had with Alice. I got a little sneak peek into it. It was fantastic. You're going to love it. So let's go ahead and throw it over to Alice's talk with Mark Dodich.
Hi, Mark. It's so good to see you again here and talk a little bit about 2021. It's amazing that we made it to January of 2021. Last year was crazy. Just give me some impressions you have. How do you feel like it's going to shift a bit as we move into this year?
I'm thrilled. I'm totally optimistic. We've been having that triple alignment in Capricorn. We talked the last time we talked. And Pluto in Capricorn has been going on since 2008. So, we use the word heavy, restructuring, serious, practical, not all those fun words. And finally, we're moving into this new Aquarius energy that's open to new ideas and create higher ideals and groups and friends and organizations and Zoom and all the other things that go with it. So I'm excited for the new year.
Yes, actually, me too. And I think the Aquarian energy coming in changes things. It gives us some new freedoms and some liberation from the past. Tell me more about something that I get asked a lot. Is it the age of Aquarius? What are your thoughts when you talk about people say, is it the age of Aquarius?
Well, some people say the age of Aquarius started back after World War I. And most people are saying we're just on the cusp of it right now. And my belief is that this Jupiter and Saturn alignment that we all saw in the sky last month was kind of like the kickoff to it, because in 2023, 2024, Pluto's going to move into Aquarius and will stay there for about 20 years. So in my mind, we're right on the cusp. We're moving into it, would be my viewpoint on the whole thing. So, with it comes good and challenging things for people who think, oh, age of Aquarius, all happy, all enthused kind of a thing. That's good. But the one thing we need to remember that's going on 3 times this year in 2021 is, not to get too astrological on our listeners, but we say that Saturn is going to make a 90-degree angle, what we call a square to Uranus, 3 times this year. And see, Saturn is old school, be conservative, be down to earth, be practical, be mundane. And Uranus is throw the baby out with the bathwater. I want to start fresh, start new. And so there's going to be As you know, Alice, we call it a square, which either means a challenge or a motivator, depending on the attitude you choose to take surrounding it. And so it's going to be a little bit jerky in this year ahead, where we're trying to move forward, but we're still dealing with the past.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. It's just, I joke with clients, they say, oh, this is like the first time you learn to drive a clutch. It's a little jerky until you figure out the movement. But once you've got the movement figured out, you can bring innovative new ideas down to earth and from them.
Yes, that's such a great way to put it. Can you give me some specifics in terms of how you might see people actually use this? Like any things on the day-to-day life, anything where you'll see it kind of grounding in this year?
Well, number one, I will tell you that I do relocation astrology, the astrocartography maps, and I have just done a ton of them during this COVID virus, more than normal. I mean, I always do a lot, but more than normal. So first thing it tells me is a lot of people are getting ready to move. As soon as the virus lightens up or whatever, I think we're going to see a lot of people moving. First you need to get where you need to be able to do the next thing, okay? But on the other level, think of all this Aquarius. Aquarius rules technology and innovation, and so people developing new apps, that they can put out into the world would be one thing. But in the world, aviation and the aerospace industry, when we're already seeing all that starting to take off, what I like to tell people is to go back to 1991 to 1993 was the last time Saturn was in Aquarius, and say what was going on in your life that was being restructured to open you up to innovative new ways of doing things at that point in time. Or even 2009 when Jupiter, which is, the god of blessings and expansion, was last in Aquarius, and to get a hint about what's coming for them personally. But to me, the good level, and all the planets, all the signs have a high level and a low level, and it's our choice as to where we're going to operate within them. And the higher level is we create win-win environments so we can all play and share nicely together to open up to, helping the group and the collective consciousness.
Yes.
And that requires us to remember that other people can be right even though they disagree and do it a different way than we do it.
Yes.
And so ideally, people will start to recognize that, hey, the divisive ways we've been doing things just doesn't work. And people aren't going to change their way of thinking, without some major kick in the backside to get them to do so.
Right.
And so I think we'll start to see people starting to figure out, well, where are there places that we can work together to at least get the process started? Now, I always joke with parents who have like an Aquarius child, and they always nod their head yes when I say what I'm about to say. And that is, they will smile and agree with you and then go do as they darn well please anyways.
Yeah.
And that's the low side of Aquarius, is the hard-headed. And so I would say that if people are dealing with anybody who's what we're going to call my way or the highway hard-headed people, they're going to have some challenges this year.
Yeah.
Okay? And people are willing to adapt and say, hey, we can't go back to where the past used to be anymore. There's no returning to that. We need to move forward into the unknown. Well, of course, that brings everybody's trust issues up. So now, just a little off topic, but what goes along with what you're saying is between November of 2020 and February of 2021, the planet Neptune, which rules spirituality and intuition, psychics, higher vision, has been making a challenge to what we call the nodes of the moon, which are soul destiny points. And Neptune's like, on one level, a space cadet. I'm dazed and confused. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And on another level, it's, I must go beyond the veils of this world to bring a higher vision in from outside. And so it's challenging the signs Sagittarius and Gemini during this 4-month period that we're in right now. And Sagittarius, we have to remember that life is an adventure. Sagittarius likes to have fun.
Yes.
And Gemini is, I need to open my mind to new ways to do things, new possibilities. I can't stay stuck in limited thought.
Yes.
And so the beauty here is we're in this 4-month period at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, that's saying it's time really to go beyond the veils and open our minds to what's the new vision or new possibilities to take us out of limiting thinking.
And what could this be for like a person? Like, what would this be like for you, someone who's already quite enlightened, or someone who is very conscious and aware? We all have our blind spots. Like, how do we actively try to do that, to feel that?
Well, I can tell you the way I'm experiencing it is that I've been wanting to bring of things that I do in my more esoteric side, but I've been so busy with what I've been doing just to, shall we say, pay the bills, keep the mortgage afloat, and all
Yes.
that. I haven't really taken the time to do some of these more fun things. And the things that really give me joy but aren't necessarily profitable. And so I'm starting to put more time into those things, and I'm actually consciously making time for the fun and creative stuff that I want to do, not just that what you have to do stuff. And so I would urge people to say, what gives you your passion? What gives you your fun? And even if you don't know what it is, I would say with Aquarius being so prevalent, that's about experimentation. It's the old joke that you gotta, I don't know, kiss a few frogs to find the prince. And so being willing to go out and try new and different things that are out of your comfort zone, or to share with people who have a very different philosophy than you do. Just not that you have to change your philosophy or that you have to go do those things, but to open your mind up that there's more possibilities than I thought there were.
Yes, and even in things like, think about things that we read hear on the media, read in the paper, or see on the internet. There's so many perspectives to one situation, and I think that part of it is to be to awaken to new perspectives that maybe we didn't consider before. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely true. And what I would add to that is, in 2021, we all have a choice. And the choice with Aquarius is we can be hard-headed and my way or the highway and everybody come out with a headache, or stepping into the higher ideal, even though we don't know quite what that is yet.
Yeah.
And that brings everybody's trust issues up. And that also means holding the ideal for other people, rather than getting caught in what we'll call the fear-based thinking that we see so much of it going on right now.
Yes.
And I like to remind people, number one, we volunteered to be on planet Earth at this time of transition.
Yes.
So, quit your bitching. And step into it, shall we say. And, when I look at that, it always makes me comfortable to know it only takes that critical mass, that 100th monkey, so to speak, in order to get the world to change. It doesn't take everybody.
Yes.
And so if we can just get enough, for example, the people who would take the time to come to an event like this are the kind of people who are going to hold the higher ideals for the rest of society. And to me, that's what we need to do. Okay?
Yes.
Now, I'm real fond of esoteric astrology, which is, the branch of astrology that's associated with spiritual purpose and why am I in planet Earth.
Yes.
And I would tell you that during this virus, something about tough times forces people inward. And they'll say, well, I can't do the job that I've been so busy at right now. What is it I want to create in my life? Or I want to tap into a higher spiritual level of what is my service? And sometimes the beauty of challenging times is it helps us open up to who we really are.
Yeah.
And in the esoteric astrology, and I won't go too far into it, but on my website, there's plenty of information on what's called the 7 rays.
Yes.
Jupiter is associated with the 2nd ray of unconditional love and wisdom. And what that means for all of us while it's in Aquarius this next year is we need to see through the outer crust of people, through their outer personality, and connect up with the spark of divine within them, so that we can bring that out, not just their personality ego. Okay? And then Saturn's associated with the 3rd ray, which we call abstract thought, esoteric knowledge, which means we need to be willing to translate higher understanding into what will, for lack of a better way of saying it, a dummy it down way for people who don't understand that, and to speak in a way they can hear. In other words, you speak to a born-again fundamentalist Christian one way, and to a New Age with their crystals and sage in a different way, but still have to share the same truth. And then Aquarius is associated with the fifth ray. For example, Archangel Raphael, who, as far as I know, has always been associated with healing. So, number one, there's a healing that goes on with Aquarius from the esoteric perspective. But there's also I call it bringing metaphysics into the physical so it can be used in a practical, ongoing way and passed on so that you can share your truth with other people and give them a method that they can take forward so you don't become everybody's caretaker mother.
Ah, good.
That's how
Give me an
I-
example. Give me an example of that. Like, what does that look like in real life?
Well, think of all the people who are healers out there who end up. I mean, I've seen so many over the years who end up burnout,
Yes.
and that's because they're trying to carry loads that are more than is for them to do. And I like to say that what we need to do is teach people to draw their own energy from source, so that they can get their own. They don't always have to come running to the healer or the whoever it would be. That they are connecting themselves to source so that they can then bring their unique talents out into the world.
Yes. Yeah. So that source that you're talking about is something that every single person has. Every single person has this own inner source. And I think that over the last years, we've sort of moved away from that. So would you say that 2020, being the disruptor that it was for all of us, helped us to break apart to kind of go deeper?
Yeah, and actually, I would use the whole period of Pluto in Capricorn,
Yeah.
2008 till 2024, as a restructuring, a breaking down of old systems. Or I always like to use the example of to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs.
Yes.
And really, that's what's been going on. Is the old way is going out, and the fear is well, we don't know what this new thing is, and most people want a blueprint. They'll come, Mark, just tell me what to do and I'll go do it. And I'll go, well, no, this is for you to go beyond the veils of the world, to bring your own vision in and figure out how to bring it down to earth. It's not about some nice, neat blueprint.
Perfect. That's such a great way. Thank you. So here we are at the precipice of 2021, moving forward. Any words of advice for people, do's or don'ts, obstacles to watch for? Make sure you do this. Just anything to kind of let someone just hold on to some information that would be helpful.
I would ask people, and I'm asking this of myself, is to carve out some time just for you, okay? Because sometimes when we have people around us in the world, it all kind of gloms onto us. And I'm asking people to really get into that individual side of Aquarius, which is who am I? And then who am I as part of a larger group? And so I would say find some things that are fun or creative to do in spite of your long things to do.
Okay.
And grant yourself or gift yourself with that free time to say, you know what, I want to do something that maybe has no practical purpose, but it feels good to me. Where it has no end place, but I want to put some energy into it.
Yes,
And-
that just resonates. That is so, I really feel that same way, that we are moving towards more of this. Who am I? And why am I here? And what is it I want to do? I mean, if you're still alive, you're still living. So there's more life to live than just what we've been doing so far.
And what I would remind people is something I continually have to remind myself of, is I go, Mark, it's already there. You just have to get out of your own way and let it come out.
Yes.
Because I know that the universe does a better job of figuring out how to bring what I need into the world when I'm not monkeying around with it all.
That totally makes sense. Mark, it's amazing how fast our time goes. I want to just really thank you for being here with us today. And I look forward to a really magnificent 2021 and beyond, and can't wait for you to come to Hawaii so we could see you again.
Been a long time. I'm ready to come back.
Thank you, Mark. Have a really good year.
Okay, bye-bye.
I really loved Mark's energy and all that he said. I've known Mark for over 15 years, and his consistency and his ability to explain these sort of high-level concepts and break them down for us is always really inspiring to me. And when I was a budding astrologer, he never put me down. He always tried to help me and support me so I could learn more about the planets. So next are my final guests. These are the Astro Twins, and it was the first. I had the idea to have them on because of their popularity. They have millions of followers. They're kind of real big in the astrology world here and have made many national appearances. You'll see that they talk a lot about specifics and planets and their impact and all of that. So don't worry about following details as much. Just get the vibe, get the understanding of what they're saying about what will emerge in this transition year. So Nolan, are you ready? Could you introduce the Astro Twins for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to have them on here. I mean, we talked about them for weeks prior to tonight, and they did not disappoint. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Astro Twins, they're identical twin sisters, Ophi and Tali, and they're professional astrologers who reach millions worldwide through their website Astro Style, and as the official astrologers for Elle magazine. They bring the stars down to earth with their approach to horoscopes. They've created astrology sections for multiple media properties, including Refinery 29, Parade, and Lifetime TV. And as best-selling authors, they've written a collection of books, including Astrostyle, Love Zodiac, Shoestrology, and Momstrology, which is their #1 Amazon best-selling parenting guide, and their own annual horoscope guides. The Astro Twins have been featured by Good Morning America, The Today Show, New York Times, Sunday Style sections, People Magazine, and Vogue. And they have collaborated with major brands, including Coach, Zappos, Nordstrom, and co-created the wildly successful Signs of Love campaign with Revlon and Refinery 29. And I even caught them on Alicia Keys' Instagram Live one time. I mean, they are connected with so many people, and the sisters have read charts for celebrities, including Beyonce and Stevie Wonder, Carly Cross, Emma Roberts, and Sting. And they are regular guests on the Sirius XM stations and have appeared on Bravo's The Real Housewives of New Jersey. And so they're legit. If they can help those people, they can definitely help us. We're so lucky to have them on here. And not only one, but we have two. The pair of them are here, and they're here to talk with Alice. So let's go ahead and listen to what they have to say with Alice's talk with the Astro Twins.
I am so excited to have both of you on, and I just want to jump right into it. Ophi and Tali, if you could just share with me what a year we had last year, and what do you see for this year? And you can just speak spontaneously. Let's just have a great conversation.
Sure. Yeah. How about I talk about last year, and Ophi can jump in with 2021, since twins just love to talk at the same time. So, last year was all about 2020 was all about looking at the shadow, looking deeper. We had Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto all mixing and mingling in Capricorn. And I think we reached, Capricorn is the summit. It's that peak experience. It's our personal best. Like, as humans, we've pushed ourselves to our personal best. But what about community? What about togetherness? What about the resources that we all share? And, we had Saturn and Pluto meeting up on January 12th for the first time since 1518 AD. And then Jupiter and Pluto mixing and mingling. I said that, like, Jupiter is a giant spotlight and Pluto rules the underground vault. So all those things that none of us wanted to look at, we were forced to 3 times, on April 4th, June 30th, and again on November 13th. And that was just, we had Venus going retrograde and in Gemini for 4 months, forcing us to look at how we share in relationships, communication, and then Mars retrograde in Aries from September 9th to November 13th, and in Aries for 6 months from June 27th on. So personal boundaries, autonomy, who are we in relationships in the world? What's our power?
It was just a big shake up for all of that, wasn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, we really got a glimpse at all the hard stuff last year. But the message for 2021, we ended 2020 with this great conjunction on the solstice in Aquarius, and Jupiter and Saturn moving to Aquarius, a sign of community and progress, new thought. And if you want to talk about that, I think we're just like, let's take all that we learned in 2020 and apply it in a proactive way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think 2020 and 2021 are warming us up for 2022 and beyond. We've started, there's a lot of people saying, oh, we're in the age of Aquarius now. Well, some people think that started, years ago. So we're not going to get into that argument, but we are calling it, we are calling it the Aquarian decade because we've got Jupiter and Saturn both in Aquarius now, and then Pluto will go into Aquarius in 2023 for the first time, and it'll dip out, then it'll stay until 2044. So we have values that are shaped by Aquarius, which is about community and sharing, and it is, there's always there's a spectrum with everything. So it's also about, conformity in some ways too. But we are seeing people examining their roles in groups and in community and their identity more and more. And we're going to see a lot more of that getting shaken up in 2021 and figuring out how to actually coexist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We did get a preview of that actually in 2020 because Saturn's a restrictor. Saturn is a planet that rules boundaries. It's like, okay, again, like where are our limits with everything? It's actually the ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius, the ancient ruler. So, from March 21st to July 1st, Saturn already did this little preview tour of Aquarius. That coincided with the first round of shelter-in-place lockdowns. Mm-hmm. It coincided with the first, the uprising in response to the killing of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter social justice movement, the groundswell that swept across the globe, and so it was, Saturn restricts. Aquarius is all about socializing. It's an air sign. Yes. So our breathing was restricted, our socializing, our communing, and yet we found this very innovative Aquarius way to connect on this core human level that I think is going to pick up again more and more in 2021 as well. And it's like, it was shocking for many people at first, but now I think it's becoming this new normal that you think beyond just yourself or your social category, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I see that because I think that when I look back on the year, and I'm sure you guys did this too in your 2020 forecast, that we couldn't forecast COVID in particular, but we could talk about what the outcome was and what we would see. And so as you're sharing, there's this progression that's happening from 2020 into 2021. And I'm sure you guys get it just like I do. Is it going to be a better year? That's what people say, and I want to hear what is your response to that when people say, "Well, it's 2021. Will it be a better year?" Not that 2020 was all bad, but what is your take on that?
Well, yeah, there is a lot of pressure on astrologers because you don't want to be, people are putting their lives in our hands in a way, and like whatever you say, they will take seriously. It'll be better in that we're now prepared. I mean, that was such a shakeup. Nobody knew what to do, what to expect. There's nothing harder than having the whole rug pulled out from under you and not knowing what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to be in that position. The tension is going to be between the old and the new. We have Saturn and Uranus, Aquarius and Taurus. We have these two counter forces of signs and planets that want to kind of dig in and hang on to tradition and do things the way they've always been done. Mm-hmm. And then we have this other counter force that wants to radically change everything and, revolutionize. We see that with politics on both sides. We just see that there's this it's sort of like a little bit of a dormant volcano effect. So I think it's just going to be it's not going to be hard in the way that 2020 was, but there's just going to be a lot of that tension all throughout the year, and it's there for us to resolve. So I would say we can't promise a better or worse year, but we can tell people what to expect so that they know where to focus. Mm-hmm. And I would say that people should focus on, the saying, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. It's such a weird, weird, creepy saying, but it really does sum up 2020. Like, what part of the crops do we keep? We're sorting the crops. What are we going to keep and replant, and what are we going to, bioengineer, I guess, or whatever next.
Yeah. So you talked
Yeah.
about tension. So yes, the tension between whether it's Aquarius and Taurus or Saturn and Uranus, that tension, how do you see it manifesting? Give me some examples of in people's lives, where would they feel that kind of tension?
Well, I would say,
Yeah.
it's going to show up in money. Money, for example, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency have skyrocketed right at this Aquarian age. Uranus, which rules technology, is in Taurus, the sign of money, and it has been for a couple of years. And we've been looking at that happening ever since then. So now here we have a shakeup with, all the old forms of currency. We're actually coming into a Pluto cycle when the dollar was first minted and became the official currency of the United States. We're coming up on the same cycle again, 250-ish years later. So we'll see it that way. We'll see it in neighborhoods and the way people share. Work is Taurus related. Aquarian is our technology. So we cannot have these Zoom office meetings forever. It's got to get better than that, right? I even joke about like the Zoom. Yeah. Go ahead, Tali. Sorry.
Saturn Uranus angles. Sorry, we're in two different locations. We got a little. They're squaring each other. They're forming a 90-degree angle. So Saturn, which tends to be very traditional, conventional, is in this innovative Aquarian placement. And Uranus, which is this wild and crazy mad scientist, disruptor, is in traditional Taurus. So there's this what I also see is people forming their own intentional communities. And one of the things that, COVID and the economic crisis is pushing for, which was also, all those planets in Capricorn in 2020 that rule the economy had a lot to do. We actually predicted a black swan event in our 2020 horoscope guide. We didn't predict a pandemic, but that was the black swan event. And yet, there's one of the major trending hashtags on social media is cottagecore. There are people who are going to this back to the land movement. They're really like finding reverence for nature again. I actually have friends here in Washington State, two of them, who purchased land together as a group. And actually the first Israeli kibbutzes that were these intentional farming communities, collective communities, were formed during the Saturn-Uranus squares of 1909. So
Wow.
I think we're going to see, so there's this and we kind of have to share our toys. And whether we do it through, there's also, but we also have to keep up to speed with technology too. So it's this real dichotomy between connecting to all this terrestrial land energy that nurtures us and this extraterrestrial energy. I mean, alien sightings are being confirmed, UFOs.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I just
Honestly,
yes, it's
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
interesting. All of what you talk about is so almost unreal. Like when you think about it, if in 2019 or 2015 we would talk about 2020 being a year like this, we wouldn't really have been able to anticipate it. Yes. And so as we go into 2021, I think the question that I get a lot, which I'd like to ask you, is, are we done with the shocks yet? Like, is there anything else that can throw us off as much as this past year has?
I'm afraid
so.
Actually, but I think,
we disagree. I don't know if it could just as much, but maybe. All right, let's hear what Talia says.
Well, I do think the three
She thinks,
Saturn-Uranus squares, the exact dates, we have to be careful. Those are February 17th, June 14th, and December 24th. So I don't know if that, you know what, I do agree that I don't think it can shock us as much as this year. I think like we're all like, we all have accepted that, you know, we've accepted the fact that the insane can happen. So maybe, you know, I can see where Ophi's coming
It may
from
not
with
be a
that.
shock, but it'll be stressful. Like, you know, I told someone the other day, if you want to know a metaphor for 2021, just think about what you wear on your Zoom call when you have like an elastic waistband and a nice shirt on. I call it the Zoom mullet, business on the top, party on the bottom, Taurus on the top, Aquarius on the bottom. It's like, it's just like, yeah, that is 2021 in a nutshell.
We
So,
can
yeah.
all relate to that. I won't even show you what I'm wearing underneath my top.
I'm totally wearing sweats under here, the
Yeah.
sweater, and nobody has to know. So, but so that is going to be like the fundamental lopsidedness that we're going to feel in 2021. I don't know about shocks, but although I am, you know, inauguration day, there's a Mars Uranus conjunction in Taurus. There are moments of super intensity. I think there's going to be a lot of, you know, this intense anger and emotion that needs an outlet. And so I'm really just hoping that I'm going to encourage people to find healthy outlets for their frustration. We're not going to be able to travel as much until the South Node is out of Sagittarius, January 2022. So there will be restrictions. The best thing we can do right now is probably accept that, but find alternatives to get whatever need we have met. What is the core need? Is it community? Is it variety, novelty? Our brains need that, you know, for balance and happiness.
Dopamine. Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, it's actually very in line with Aquarius. So Aquarius is the sign that rules the future. Last year, we had only Saturn, this dour, depressing energy, really like, you know, clamping down our hope for the future. But now in 2021, Jupiter, which is about bounty and abundance and optimism, will be balancing that out. So I think what we actually need to do is create dopamine fueling experiences. And I'm not talking about drugs, okay? But, you know, without drugs, we wrote about this in our 2021 horoscope guide, like about nootropics, which are natural dopamine, you know, releasing substances. Actually looking up, there is this book called The Molecule of More by a neuroscientist. He actually explains that simply looking up at the sky can cause your brain, or looking upwards, to start firing off dopamine. Like it is what makes us feel alive, creative, hopeful. And without those little fun adventures and the
novelty and surprises.
Yeah. So how do we create novelty in our lives? And it could be even taking on a challenging project, like a communal farm, a community garden. Like people should really stretch in ways that inspire them, and do good for community. Like we have to create our futures that are worth living into. Otherwise, that depression can sink in. So consciously creating that Jupiter will help big time. And it takes a little tour of Pisces too, from May 13th to July 28th, which will also bring a lot of fantasy and excitement and imaginative ideas in. So, yeah.
So given that, and I love what you just said, finding that core need, finding what truly sort of turns you on and lifts you up, and that sort of can kind of help us move through the year better. Any obstacles that you see, any warnings, anything like do this, don't do that, anything like that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
My doc decided to move around under a blanket while we were
I would say do. Sorry,
do push
twin
yourself
moment. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do push yourself to your personal best, but don't just think about you, you know? Think about how it affects everyone around you. What do you have, Ophi, for that?
Well, you know, being that it's a metal ruled year and it's the year of the ox, which I know you're going to talk about or did talk about. So do build infrastructures to support your novel ideas. Do explore new avenues and things you've never done before, but don't completely uproot your life so that you've no anchors, nothing familiar, nothing to kind of come back to. I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, this is the perfect time to just blow up my whole life. Well, actually, it's not. Blow up a small part of your life, but don't blow up everything, and don't just do it rashly either. Do
I would
find
also
new
say,
ways to have relationships too, but don't cast off the old friends and loved ones either. So,
Okay.
Sorry, Tali.
mhm. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, do read and take in new information, but don't just trust everything. Don't gurify or anyone. Don't question everything, because we're in this Gemini Sagittarius nodal cycle that also began last year and brought a lot of disinformation to light. So like, what is true? Do find your truth, but don't believe it's the only truth, I would say.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It's so amazing how our time has come to an end so quickly. Just any last words that you'd like to say to our viewers about anything about 2021? Anything at all? And I'm going to start with Tali.
I would say don't lose the lessons from 2020. You became resilient and amazing in ways that you never dreamed possible. So keep building on that.
Perfect. Ofi?
Set your sights on a future that you want, that inspires you, but know that it'll be a marathon and not a sprint. And try to create moments on a day-to-day or moment-to-moment basis that you can also enjoy. Find something to appreciate every single day.
Perfect. Thank you both so much for taking the time. It's so amazing that I have the Astro Twins on our show today. I want to thank you so much for making the time to be with us today, and good luck with everything you do in 2021.
You too. Thanks so much for having us. Bye.
Wow, that was really interesting. This is the first time that I actually got to listen to the interviews since I was in the interview, and it's interesting, the things that I didn't remember, things I did get. So I hope you got something out of it. I hope it was really worth it for you. I am so grateful to Jesse, to Mark, and to Ofi and Tali for making the time to be on our show today. Now, all of you that are joining us this evening, I think you figured it out, that there's a chat underneath that you can chat. So please share your insights, what you got out of it. I think it really helps to hear what others get from it, so that we can also absorb even more. So I'm interested, Aaron, Kristen, are you guys here with us today? Aaron, Kristen, hi. I wanted to see, Aaron, what did you get from today?
So for me, what stood out was how similar some of their insights were, like how we have a choice about everything, including our perspectives.
Yeah. Kristen, what about you?
Yeah, I kept hearing them highlight like our personal responsibility to kind of remember that we need to find what works for us, but equally important, give others the space to do the same.
Yes, thank you. So my talk is coming up next, but before I get into that, I thought it would be a great opportunity to take a few minutes to kind of let those of you watching know that we are still doing things this year. Aaron's going to tell us about the next thing that's coming up. Aaron, can you share about the Lifebook class, I think?
Sure. So we have our life planning workshop on February 27th and 28th. We had to limit it to 4 people in person at Happiness U so that everyone has space to distance. And the workshop will also be live online to accommodate more people.
So the Lifebook planning class, I know many of you that are watching have taken it. If you're looking for some direction in life, all your direction is within you. So this class is not a class where I talk all weekend long. This is a class where I have about, 600-800 questions that you ask yourself, so you find out your path and what you want to create in life. It's actually really life-changing. The next class, Kristen is going to share a little bit about. I can't wait to tell you more. Kristen?
Yes, Alice will start her brand new reverse aging course, which I am super excited about. That will be in March. It's 45-minute classes for 8 weeks, and that'll be held on Saturdays at 4 p.m.
So, reverse aging. We're all aging as we go. And I think that the more we age, the more we realize we age, and the less we really need to, because so much of it is mindset. So I had this idea to form a limited cohort of individuals, men and women, and we're going to talk about everything from inner beauty to outer beauty. If you're interested, there's homework to do. So we'll do things like facial exercises. We'll do anything that will help you to not only embrace your aging, feel youthful and vital, but also to put forth our outer beauty in the best possible way. So I hope if that interests you, Erin can help you with that. And I think we have one more thing to share, right? Is it Kristen? No, it's Erin. Erin.
Yeah. So another workshop coming up is Starstruck 2021. Alice wanted to do an astrology retreat for beginners last year, but because of COVID, it didn't happen. So she's doing it this year on May 1st and 2nd. It'll be in person at Happiness U again, and it's also limited to 4.
Yes, so I love astrology. It's what got me into understanding life, the bigger picture of everything that's happening. And I've developed a way to kind of explain it simply. So it's just a weekend, just 4 people. You'll learn to read astrology charts of yourself and others in a very simple, very basic way. So if you've always wanted to delve deeper, we have 4 spaces for that. So let us know. Okay, before we go on our break, there are 2 organizations that I really need to say thank you to, because without them, we wouldn't have such a high level and such a great event. So the first one is Empowered Presentations, Corey and Yancey. I met them, I found them on the internet, met them about 10 years ago, and they've been nothing but supportive to our business, Happiness U. Their company is called Empowered Presentations. They have won awards, the best presentation in the world out of 4,000 entries. So they're really awesome. I want to say thank you because Corey and Yancey, Empowered Presentations, have made my presentations, pretty much every one of them since I started with them. And here today is Pop Creative Media. We're so thankful. I want to say thank you to Jamie and Nolan. They're here. You know Nolan, he's been emceeing, and Jamie is behind the scenes holding all the stress to get all of the tech stuff right. Their company is called Pop Creative Media. They used to do things in person. I worked with them when I was officiating weddings, and when COVID hit, they turned their business into a virtual business. So they have set up here at Happiness U. We're coming to you live, and I'm so thankful for that. And also I want to say that Nolan is an MC. So if you don't need creative services to do an event, you can always hire him as an MC. So Nolan, let's see what kind of an MC you are.
Oh, no pressure or anything, my gosh. But man, it's been awesome so far. And we haven't even got to Alice's presentation yet. So you can just imagine how, fun-filled and action-packed this whole night has been so far, and what we have coming up. And I want to give a shout out to some people who have been really active in the chats. I've been watching it all throughout the evening. We have somebody watching all the way from Canada, Bridget. Hello, Bridget. And then Jessie, who was one of our earlier interviews. She's all the way from Malaysia joining us. I don't know what time it is in all these different countries, but to have you all on here is awesome. And we have so many people just like having such high energy in there and saying hello to everybody. Apparently Chad Sato is the world's most popular person because everyone keeps saying hi to Chad Sato. So I'll jump on board. Hey, Chad Sato, how are you doing? And Geraldine, bringing the energy. The aloha is just like seeping through her keyboard here. So we really love seeing what the chats are going on. And if you guys have any questions or thoughts you want to throw in there, just know that we all here are looking through them and enjoying them. So thanks for joining us. Right now we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. This will give you a chance to go get up, stretch, grab something to eat or drink, use the bathroom. We'll put up a timer. It'll be 5 minutes right here on the screen. And then in exactly 5 minutes, we'll come back. I'll introduce a very special guest, and then we'll have Alice on for her big presentation. It's something you don't want to miss. We'll see you right back here in 5 minutes. Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. See, I told you exactly 5 minutes. We don't mess around with time here, but I want to give a big mahalo to each and every one of you for joining us here tonight on this blustery Monday evening. Well, it is for us here in Hawaii. There's a lot of people tuning in from all over the world. We mentioned Canada and San Diego, but we also have some friends all the way in Florida. It's almost like 1 o'clock in the morning, but they're tuning in. So we want to say what's up to Jamie and Laura from Viral Growth Media over in Florida. They do some really amazing stuff, and they're working with Alice, but they're committed to watching this whole event at 1 a.m. You're still young though, so I guess, it's okay. Me, I'd be sleeping by now. But we also want to say hello to our friends Denise and Brianna. They're also watching us. And we have some celebrities in the house too. Mark Dacascos is also watching us. So thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us tonight. It's been really fun. I know we're not together physically, but kind of in a way with this chat, I feel like we're still together. And the cool part is you guys are able to talk and chat during the presentation and not feel like you're being rude, because our speakers aren't seeing and watching and hearing you guys talk. Hey, listen to me. You guys can just talk whatever about you want, and no big deal, right? But we're gonna go over to the main portion of our event tonight, which is Alice Inouye's presentation. But before we do, we're going to have this really unique, fun, interactive kind of element. We were mentioning how we wanted to get really creative with our presentation this year. I know we couldn't do our in-person event, so we were like, how else do we make this fun and cool? So we got speakers from all across the globe to join us virtually. And we have another one from across the pond, as they say. Jenny Leonard is an artist all the way over in the UK, and she's going to be, you're going to see her in the corner of Alice's presentation. She's going to be kind of like a little Bob Ross window in the corner there. She's going to be live scribing Alice's presentation. Now, if you're not familiar with what live scribing is, don't worry. I also didn't know what that was either. And I'm going to bring Jenny on before she starts her scribing to explain a little more. But I wanted to tell you a little bit about Jenny. She lives and works in the UK and is a community-driven commission artist who loves pursuing collaborative art projects that bring people together. And that's exactly what we're doing here tonight. I just mentioned we have people all over the world joining us together, and she's going to help bring us together here tonight virtually. She does live art sketches for events, meetings, and conferences, and holds a creative art workshop for schools and businesses. She believes in accessible art and specializes in murals, scenic painting, and site-specific public art. And although she's based all the way in London, she travels far and wide for the right projects and big blank walls. So if you got a blank wall, she'll make it awesome. She works with Wild in Art as an artist for public sculpture trails across the UK and internationally. And in addition to her own designs, she often works closely with event sponsors to produce commissioned public artwork for display on sculptured walls. Now, what she's going to be doing for us tonight, as I mentioned, is scribing. And I'm not totally familiar what that is, but instead of me trying to figure it out, I figured let's just have her here and explain it for herself. So I think, yep, she's on here. So let's bring her on. Jenny, welcome. Well, hello, Jenny. Thanks for joining us here today. You're joining us all the way from the UK. What part? You're in England, correct? Oh my goodness.
I'm in England at the moment. Yes, in Bristol.
It's such a different time zone, and the fact that you're here with us is just amazing. But when Alice told me that we're going to have a scribe, I wasn't quite sure what she meant by that, and she tried to explain it to me. But I figured, Alice, just let Jenny describe it because she's actually going to do it. So, Jenny, can you describe what it is that you actually do?
Sure, yeah. So I start off today with a bit of a blank paper, and I'm listening to all of your guys' presentations and conversations, and I'm just pulling out some key headlines and making them into a visual. So kind of turning them into a bit of a storyboard / cartoon, and something for your guests and participants to remember the event by. So really sort of top takeaways, and hopefully something colourful as well at the end of the event.
That's so amazing. And so during the whole presentation that Alice is doing, we're going to be seeing you kind of put to visualizations what she's saying,
Correct.
Right?
Yes,
how did
exactly.
you come up with this idea, or where did this idea come about, and what is the benefit of doing something like that?
Gosh, that's a great question. I started about 7 or 8 years ago. I've always been a freelance artist, and I saw someone doing it at an event that I was at, and I thought that's really good. Maybe I could have a go at that. And I had a bunch of connections at the time, and I ended up doing them. Started out doing them on chalkboards, and realized quite quickly that that was quite messy. And then I turned to canvases and was traveling around a lot at events. And now, of course, this year with COVID-19, all of my work's gone online. So now I have a camera rig that can film my hands drawing on a bit of a smaller scale, but then once I edit it and put it in post-production, it ends up as a high-res image that you can blow up to like a poster size. So it's kind of cool because I'm getting to work much more internationally and across time zones, and getting to listen to all kinds of meetings across the world. Like some of the stuff I've done in the past year has been really, really amazing. And this, of course, is really different for me again as well. So great to be here.
Yeah, well, I can't imagine a cooler way to kind of capture everything that's, because every time Alice speaks, like everybody's just like, oh, it was so great, and I wish I could go back and listen to it. And it's kind of like by having your work, it's like people can do that without having to watch or listen to the whole thing. They can just look at it and be like, ah, yes, these are the things that I remembered, and these were those key moments. And it's not that they're just writing out words. You're actually like kind of making it into art. So it's not that you're not making bullet points is what you're not doing.
No, I hope not. I hope it'll be much more engaging than that. So I'm trying to listen for good key metaphors and turn those into little illustrations and things, or things that I think, oh, that really stood out. Then I'll try and make an illustration out of that. But who knows? It's always a bit of a gamble because you never know, because it's live. You never really know how it's going to go. But really interesting subject matter. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it too. So I know Alice is getting ready for her presentation, and you got to go get set up. And so we're actually going to put you up on the screen with Alice while she's doing her presentation, so people can see you scribing live to her presentation. And I can't wait, but it's so great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. As we say here, aloha and welcome. And
Thank you.
Can't wait.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks a lot.
All right. We'll see you down in one of these corners here in a second.
See you sketching.
Okay. All right. So while Jenny gets set up, she is primed and ready. Our master of, I don't want to call her master of ceremony. She's our host with the most, hostess with the mostest, the person that you've all fallen in love with and who you're all looking forward to hearing from here tonight. She's prepared an amazing presentation for you to help us get prepared and get excited for 2021. And Alice is not only an astrologer and the founder of Happiness U. She's nationally award-winning author. She's a life expert. She is one of Hawaii's thought leaders and celebrated experts on creating meaningful and joyful existence, and has helped thousands of organizations and individuals over the past 20 years. And her insights to life and wisdom and are featured in 8 books on self-growth and happiness. She's also got her long-standing articles column on Midweek, which is Hawaii's largest publication. She is just an amazing woman who not only has helped me a lot personally, but so many others with just putting things into perspective. And I know 2020 was a little bit of a hectic year for many of us. And if you're like me, I was really looking forward to hearing what Alice had in store for what we can expect in 2021, so that we can really tackle this year on and grow from it. So I'm really excited to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big virtual round of applause to the one, the only, Miss Alice Inouye.
Thank you, Nolan. It's so good to be here. I'm so happy that we have this opportunity to still connect and meet, even though it's not in person, that you can join with me virtually. I can't wait to share with you what I've come up with for 2021. Now, you've probably noticed that when you listen to my guests that were on the show, that they all had something to say, each in their own way. And I chose to do it this way this year simply because, number one, I didn't want to sit here and talk to you for 2 hours just from what I had to say. But I thought after a year like 2020, it's important for us to look at different perspectives, hear from different people, see what resonates. We are in a time where information is everywhere, and no matter where you look, from your computers to your phones to your networks to the news, sometimes it's hard to decipher or even to make sense of things. So what I love about astrology is that with astrology, we have systems that can help us to make sense of things. So it's almost as if you have a whole bunch of mess all over your desk, and I come in and I say, oh, here are some folders. Here are some ways to organize it. So the things are still there, but now we know where to go and why. So that's why I thought this is a good time to bring this kind of information in. Now, how we get that information that we deliver, I've had that question asked a lot. Like, how do you know? How do you look at the sky and how can you tell? So the way that we get the information is through, and I'll share more as we go, but we look at planetary energies, we look at cycles and themes from the past, and this is a discipline that's been around for thousands of years. So we have a way, and almost like a, kind of like a resource that we can tap into, and it's almost like a puzzle that we put together. But no matter what, getting to whatever was shared earlier with you and what I'm going to share, I like to think of it like almost like a map. Now, I am not telling you, nobody here told you exactly what's going to happen. In 2020, no one said there is going to be a virus, there is going to be a pandemic. None of that happened. The concepts were given, and it's very similar to, the way I like to explain it is, if you've never been to a country, a foreign country that I know well, you've never been there, and you talk to me about it, and I tell you a little bit about the culture, about the weather, the people, where's a good place to go, where's not. When you get to that country, you have a choice as to where to go and what to do, but you have the context, you have the sort of the idea of what that country is like. And so when we talk about the future, 2021, here we are in January, it is yet to fully unfold. I'm simply giving you a map. The other guests that I had on are simply giving you a map, and you can choose to follow it or not. But hopefully it gives you a sense of feeling that everything is going to be okay. And that kind of leads me into my purpose. Every time I do something and I share information, I really want to help you to acclimate in ways that maybe you wouldn't have if you didn't listen to what we share. So my purpose is to help you acclimate, help you to make wise choices for yourself, help you to be prepared so that you know what's kind of coming up. So you kind of get a little heads up. But let me go back to 2020 and share with you a little bit about that, because I think in 2020, those of you, I think at least half of you were there for this 2020. And I think if we look to the past and we look to the present and we look to the past, and we can start to move into the present. So I want to review a little bit what I said last year. So this is a slide that I actually had up. Well, actually, these are the words that I had up last year. I said, 2020 promises a great galactic intensity that will assist us in making necessary changes to our life. I didn't know how on I would be actually by saying this, but there's so much happening in the sky that I knew that we were going to have some sort of effect here on Earth. This is a slide that I also showed. How will 2020 impact you? I said that you will see that what worked in the past won't work going forward, that you would stop procrastinating on things that need to change in your life. You'll have mandatory overhauls or updates. Now think about this. You heard this exactly a year ago, before the pandemic started, and yet I didn't know anything, but I knew that this was sort of the vibe. And I said that by the end of 2020, what you would start to experience is insights on how to deal with limitations. We had lots of limitations this year, and we got lots of insights on how to deal with them. And I also said that new solutions would be found and implemented. And just like here today, 300 people at the ballroom last year, in person. This year, recognizing it was a pandemic, how are we going to do it? New solutions. Pop Creative Media came in, virtual. Now we're here coming to you live. Amazing. So in 2019, I'm taking you back because I'm going to take you forward. In 2019, I said, don't be an anchovy. And I said this because I knew that things were going to change in the upcoming years. And I thought anchovies were a perfect example, because if you put anchovies in a cylindrical, let's say a cylindrical aquarium, they swim in a circle. And if we have a 3-foot diameter, I guess tank, they get used to swimming 3-foot in diameter. If we were to pour all those anchovies into a 5-foot diameter tank, what would they do? They would stay in the 3-foot diameter. So they kind of they stay stuck to the old. They don't expand and grow and push our boundaries. So 2019, my message was, don't be an anchovy, expand and grow. 2020, last year, I don't know if you remember, but I introduced the Pilobolus crystallinus, which is a fungi. And I said, in 2020, you want to be a fungi, because I was looking for the absolute fastest thing, because I knew you had to change. We had to move. 2020 was a year of movement. And this fungi, I thought the fastest thing on Earth would be like a cheetah or like a eagle or something. But when I researched it, it was so perfect, because the fastest moving organism on Earth, this fungus can not only accelerate 12 miles an hour in 2 millionths of a second, it lives in manure. And its job is to break down manure. And as soon as it's done its job to break down all of the sludge and all of the toxins and everything that doesn't need to be broken down anymore, it catapults so super fast. It's like, I think it was 100 times the speed of light. So I said, be a fungi. That was it. Like, hurry up, get out of your SHIT. That was the message. What I didn't say to you was that if you didn't do it yourself, it would be done for you. So that's how the universe works, right? You know you need to change. You know you need to change. You don't change. Guess what? Change happens to you. So anything you're repressing, anything you need for your life, the universe will help you manifest it. So whether you make a choice or it happens to you. And again, I always say we're always in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. There's no mistake. I understand there is so much chaos, so much change. But yet, if everything is happening exactly as it needs to, then we have to learn how to navigate our lives so that we evolve and grow the way that we are being stimulated to do so. So this past year, we can kind of feel like life has both accelerated and decelerated simultaneously. It was like pandemic hit, hurry, hurry, go, go, go. We had to figure out how to do these things. And then at the same time, stuff slowed down. The way we used to do things just didn't work. So we learned a lot, right? In 2020, what has 2020 shown us? I came up with some. You guys can probably come up with more. And I know that we're doing a live stream, so there's a chat box underneath. So some of you, if you're interested, go ahead and chat what I didn't put. I said, this is what I've learned, not to take things for granted, that things can change overnight, that we're more adaptable than we thought we were. And there's more perspectives than we imagined. I also saw that the importance of self-care showed up. We learned who our friends really are and the blind spots we never knew we had. So these are some things that have shown that I noticed that 2020 has shown us. So tonight, after going back and catching you up a little bit more, what I am going to be presenting to you tonight is basically four segments. First, I'm going to talk about numerology. I do this every year. I just got into numerology maybe about 10 years ago or so, and I started presenting it to you about 6 years ago. I'm going to talk a bit about the elements that are present in our year as we move forward, because that gives us some clues. Everything I'm doing is just giving you some clues as to what to look for, really, really what the weather is like as we move into the year. I will go over a little bit of astrology. I know you've heard a lot of it. Hopefully I'll be able to sort of summarize it and give you a different way to look at it. And then I'm going to close with some guidance for the year. Now, last year I did a whole huge segment on technology and how technology is going to change our world. And obviously it has so far this year. That information is still very valid. So we have the link on the resource page that you'll receive to look at that if that is of interest to you if you missed it last year, because it's still very relevant. Now, there's an important note that I do want to say. I am well aware that There is so much going on in our world, but it's not something I can change. I mean, what we're seeing, economic insecurity, political turmoil, social injustice, natural disasters, all of that in addition to the pandemic. But my presentation tonight, my perspective, it's all about you and how you can navigate any circumstances that arise for you. So yes, all of these things are happening out there, but yes, to you recognizing that you're in these kind of crazy surroundings, but making choices that are in alignment with what you need in your life. Because what if all of this craziness happening is just causing you to become a better version of you, to get deeper into who you are, to make new connections, evolve in ways you wouldn't have? What if that's the purpose of it? So I chose this year as the symbol for the year is the lotus. Now, I don't know if you know about the lotus. It is one of the most ancient and deepest symbols of our planet. And it's considered to be one of the most sacred plants in the world. Now, look at these words that I have here: enlightenment, strength, transformation, self-regeneration. All of these, I think, are good things to hold on to this year. And you may not know this, but lotus have an intense will to live. They can be without water for thousands of years and then germinate 2 centuries later. I think this is a good symbol for us this year, the lotus. Okay, so let's get started on everything. Now, I try to simplify it. I try to do that every year. You might still find that there's a lot, but I don't want you to get caught on jargon or technology or symbols and signs or planets and things that you don't have any clue what they mean. So you've heard those words. You might hear me use these words. I want you to just really tune into the vibe. I'm giving you some adjectives that will kind of help you feel it. So I want you to know that it's based on universal cycles, but you don't need to know all of that jargon. So let's start with numerology. Now, I think of numerology as something that represents the underlying pattern in the universe. So it's a language of numbers and symbols and letters and creates a vibration. Back in, I think it was high school, right? We learned about the binary system, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1. We learned that numbers actually make up the fabric of our technology and our world. Now, it's the underlying pattern in the universe. And it's just like astrology. It gives us a little bit of a glimpse of the mystery and how are we a part of it. Numerology, it's based on the notion that everything is connected and that everything exists in perfect synchronicity with everything else. Now, 2020, you'll find me going back only because I had so many questions this year from all of you as to what happened in 2020. Like, you were so on, but yet you were kind of off too because you didn't talk about the pandemic. So do you remember the number 4? And every year I did a different, I did the numerology of the year. And 4 comes from 2020, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0 equals 4. So I likened it to a table. And just like a table, it has 4 legs, a room has 4 walls. The number 4 is the number of structure and balance. And at its core, it's about order, responsibility, stability, family. Here's some words. I'm going to put these up. Balance, fortitude, foundation, stability, grounding, commitment. So I want you to think back to 2020. And you could actually say to me, no, I didn't have grounding. It was not stable at all. And what I'm going to share with you now is why. If the vibe for 2020 was 4 and foundation was it, and your life changed significantly, your business had to stop, you lost your job, you got sick, just whatever happened in this kind of crazy year that we lived, well, then I explain it this way. So take that table of 4. Now, if you put a whole bunch of junk on that table, and you have a whole bunch of junk, you do not have a platform. You do not have a foundation that you can build the rest of your life on. So if 4 was a foundational year and you had a huge amount of change, I guarantee you the change was necessary, because this is going to help you as you transition into 2021 and beyond. And I promise you, you will look back to 2020 and you will see gifts. We talk about silver linings. I gave you a couple slides of what I saw, but I think that it will be much deeper and much more profound than what we think right now. So if you can't make room for your new manifestations, your table had to crumble. So in case you had a really, really tough year, a little crazy year, it's because you needed that. So 2021 brings 5. So halfway through the numbers that we look at from 1 to 9 is 5. And it's the number of creativity. 5 is the number of transformation. So imagine if parts of your table or your whole table crumbled, and let's say it represents your life, then 5 means we can create a new table. We can buy a new table. We can have new options. Maybe we don't want a table, we want a countertop. So this gives us an opportunity to start fresh. Here's a great slide that shows sort of how 5 is right in the middle. Look at that placement. To the left is 1, 2, 3, 4, the past 4 years. To the right is 6, 7, 8, 9, the next 4 years. So the focus shifts from holding on to what was to looking forward to what you want to create. So now we have an opportunity to manage the change that was inevitable in this next evolution. The words of 5 to kind of hold on to, and it feels much better than 4, right? In some ways, adventure, freedom, optimism, risk-taking, transformation, and we continue to transform, and it's also a very creative energy. And one more thing, progress and options. Nobody likes to do what they have to do. We like to choose what to do. So here we are. 4, you were forced to create, whether it would level down to whatever new stable foundation. Now we have an opportunity to start to build up. So you want to take what worked in the last 4 years, let go of what didn't work, the attitude to have, first word on here, attitude of adventure. And it also brings a desire for us to live on our own terms more than ever before, but recognizing that there has to be a new way to operate, right? So if you want to make change in your life, you have to operate in a different way. So a lot of changes happened last year. So now how are you going to operate? I mean, if you want to have more money, you have to not only earn it, you have to invest and plan, right? If you want more health, you need to do things that your body actually needs to be healthier. So in 2021, outdated lifestyles will start to pass away. So I use the symbolism of a hand because it's like you now have all 5 fingers. You're in control. When people say, I have you in the palm of my hand, the possibilities are here. You have full movement. You can grab and go. You can do things. You're in a new creative cycle. So 5 is our numerology of this year. Next, I want to talk about the elements. So look at this, how beautiful. Fire, air, earth, and water. I get this question a lot. How come there's all these different elemental systems? Depends on the discipline. Jessie, who spoke earlier on the metal ox, she used the 5 elements. This is in traditional Chinese medicine. We use this with in anything to do with the Asian. They use the 5, which includes the metal. In astrology, the Western astrology that I'm doing today, which also was Mark and the Astro Twins, we use the 4 elements. And it kind of like these elements are part of our life. Think about it. Look to the right of the screen. So water. We were conceived in the water of the womb to create a physical body, earth, physical, something tangible. When we were born, we took our first breath of air. And fire, the fire in our heart, we all look for the fire, the passion. How many of you have said, what is my purpose in life? I want to have more meaning. I don't want to have all these obligations and complexities and challenges. So what are we going towards? We're trying to move towards our true desires where you are today, not where you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, today. New passions, new things have yet to emerge. So the elements of 2021 is what I'm going to talk about, but I just need to go back to 2020 so you can kind of feel the difference. I want you to feel the difference. 2020 had a huge focus on Earth. So many planets were in Earth. So many planets in Earth simply means they're in a segment of a sky that is called Earth, and we were able to track that. These are the things: restructuring, planning, strategizing. This was it. Now, 2021 has more of an emphasis on air signs. So the air element is closely related to communication and exchange. So you hear some similar adjectives here between the numerology and the elements, because here, air signs, these are some of the manifestations: freedom, creativity, right? Very similar. Communication, objectivity, and refinement. So what does this mean? More air in our year means, number one, that we have more freedom from obligations. And like I said earlier, nobody likes obligations. Who wants to do stuff they have to? We want to feel, right, the fire in our heart. What is it that we're here to do? What are we meant to do? How do we be happier? I'll just use that, like a bright energy. So freedom from obligations shows up. More conscious creation, not just by default, living life by default. Oh, this happens, so I have to do this. That happens, I have to do this. And pretty soon, you're off on a track that is not where you want to be. Conscious creation. What do you want in your life? What do you want to create? You want to write a book, start your own business, change jobs, stop doing something, give up something. This is conscious creation. The last one that I wanted to talk about is more breakthrough manifestation. So here, the stuckness of 2020 is done. We have air, fresh air. We love it when it feels stuffy in a room and we open the door and we get fresh air. That's a little bit like what's going to feel. It's going to feel like, but we're still in transition. Now, I want to say welcome, not to the new normal, but to the next normal. I know that new normal was like a phrase that people were saying, oh, that's the new normal. But we get acclimated to the new normal, and then something would change, it would be another new normal. So let's just call it the next normal. And normal is what is. We can't fight what is. So if what is what it is, then this is normal. So when we move on to what I'm going to share about 2021, I wanted to make sure you knew that even with the chaos in the world, that there is hope. And what is that hope? That hope is you. The hope is you being able to have hope to do what you want to do, not be stuck, not live by default. I mean, it is no doubt we had a very unexpected 2020, and the contacts continue to be kind of volatile. They continue to create change, and yet through this, because we've kind of acclimated to change a bit, a lot more is going to unfold. So again, as human beings, we are destined to grow and evolve. If you're not doing it for yourself, the universe will do it for you. That's why I love having this opportunity to talk to you about what's coming up. Now, the overview that I have, is there hope? Absolutely, yes, there is hope. But I want you to continue to expect the unexpected during this transition year. I remember last summer, I think it was around July, people were saying, oh God, 2020, such a sucky year. I can't wait till 2021. I can't wait till 2021. It was kind of a mantra almost. And then what happened? November came, December came, and in December we realized like, oh, 2020 is around the corner. So things aren't just magically going to change just because it's a new year. So there is hope. Let's continue to expect the unexpected, conscious creation. You can break through and do things, but this is the astrology that you're working with. So astrology gives us a little more clarity. I started with numerology, general vibe. We went to elements, 4 different categories, planets. Now, you see a bunch of characters here on the screen, and that is because I don't relate to someone saying, this is Saturn. It's just a planet. It's just a planet. I had to personify them. I don't know what it is. I love personifying elements and planets and signs. And so I personified them so that we could have a language. It's almost like a play. When you get to know the characters, you get to understand the interaction between the characters. So the first guy here is Saturn. I call him Mr. Saturn. He is like a banker. He's all about simple structure, tradition, do the right thing, create a strong foundation, follow the rules, old. This next guy, scary guy, I call him Pluto, because Pluto is the fear that we have when it's time to change and transform. Many people say, I like change, I'm into change. Yeah, we're into change to a certain degree, but too much change creates a lot of fear. But if we move past the fear, once we get comfortable with the change, we evolve into a new beginning, and Pluto comes and helps us with that. The other player involved is Uranus. I call him the punk rocker. He's all about, whenever he comes around, whenever that planet comes around and forms some sort of alignment, he's all about let's change, let's be more creative, let's break out of the box, let's not follow the rules. And I chose a punk rocker because think about them. They are unique in how they're self-identifying what feels authentic to them. And even amongst the punk rocker group, everybody has their own look. So it's like, how do we be individual but yet still be part of the collective? So Uranus comes in for change. Have to bring in Jupiter. Jupiter is Santa Claus. I call him Santa Claus because the planet Jupiter, huge in the sky. And whenever it's moving around, whatever it touches or aligns with, in a positive way, it expands it. It optimizes it. It can lead to excess, but it's a magnifier. So these are the 4 players. I'm going to talk about a few that might help you to make more sense of this year. Just to help you have a little bit of a little more correlation, Saturn relates to Capricorn. So those of you Capricorns like a bit more structure. Pluto relates to Scorpio, silent, strong, don't talk, right? Uranus is the Aquarian energy, about change and tech and freedom. Jupiter, Sagittarius. Sagittarians talk a lot, they learn a lot, they speak a lot, they teach a lot. That's the 4. So you heard all of our Western guests speak about Saturn and Uranus. So this is an alliance that happens several times. So think about Saturn, Mr. Saturn. He is all about structure. And Mr. Uranus is all about changing, updating things. So what does this mean? Imagine if the banker and the punk rocker were together in a room the whole year. And you'll see this really strongly in February, in June, in December. They kind of have these meetings. And when they meet in the sky, or actually they're in a alignment in the sky, we feel this. And this is the tension. The Astro Twins talked about tension. This is the tension. So there's struggle between progressive ideas, Mr. Uranus, and structure, what used to be done the old way. So there's tension. So if there's tension in the sky, there's tension within us. Now, just a little bit more clarity here. So Saturn is about our experience of restriction. Think about the rings around Saturn, experience of restriction and limitation. Saturn ties us to authority, tradition, responsibility, and the past. Saturn's energy is slow, heavy, and dense. You get the feel, right? So then if we move to say like, well, what is Uranus's role? He's going to be kind of opposite. He's all about changing and updating things. He wants freedom from the old. He's tied into breakthroughs, awakenings, rebellion, the future. He's unpredictable. It's restless. So imagine these 2 guys came together in a room trying to like make things happen. They're going to eventually have to give up a little bit to find a meeting of the minds. And that's what the year is going to feel like. So the common manifestations, I'll just kind of let you read it here, is radical change and disruption to the status quo, sudden financial and economic shifts. Now this is this year. Still protests, some civil unrest, technological breakthroughs. We'll continue to see those. Political and social breakthroughs to a new order, and a gaining or a loss of freedom and rights. So this is common. I talk about these as cycles, right? Every year, you are 1 year older because of the planetary cycle. They call it like another trip around the sun. So all of these planets move at different speeds, and we can go back and track. So I have a little tracker here. So in the past, what have we seen when these 2 planets have come together? So first of all, we can go back to 1918 to 21. We had the Spanish flu pandemic. What are we in this year? We're in the pandemic. 64 to 67, we had the Vietnam War, protests, civil unrest, civil rights movement. That was happening. Then around the next time these planets were dancing around, we had the World Trade Center collapsing, and then I went to the 2008 economic crash. That was also when we had our first Black president. So these alignments that are happening now, we get clues by looking to the past. So we will make it through. It's just time for us personally to shed, grow, and evolve. So I want you to ask yourself, what was going on for you in 1999? Where was your inner tension? Because you had it then as well. What was your personal battle between loyalty, duty, and responsibility and self-expression? So I was thinking for myself, what was going on for me? I was working as a TV host for Japan TV News at that time, and I did shows both here in Hawaii and shows in Japan. And I was really, really busy. I had a lot of work, a lot of sponsors, and there's so many advantages to being in that position. I would have never let go of it because but I didn't love what I did. I absolutely love astrology. I love everything that I do now, guiding people, helping people, serving the community, doing things that can give insight to one's life. I absolutely love it. But back then in 1999, I was making money, I was popular, I had everything that you would need, you would think, but I had this tension. I didn't know what I wanted, what my purpose was. So life came and changed that for me, brought me into what I do here today. So how Saturn and Uranus is going to impact you. So this is the heads up for you. What does it look like this year? So the first thing is you're going to feel like you'll continue to make necessary changes. You'll be forced to find new ways to relax. Okay, so let me go back to the first one. You'll continue to make necessary changes. Now, necessary, according to what you want and according to what your higher self or your next level of evolution is, could have a gap. So you will see changes. If you see changes that you know you need to make, then make steps towards doing it. Because just like 2020, right? When the pandemic came, we were forced to change in many ways. So if you feel like you need to make a change, go ahead and do it. You will be forced to find new ways to relax. And what this is, our whole world has changed for us, our own personal world, how we relate to people, how we interact with people. This is a day I had, for the last 15 years, I did in front of like real people. And now I'm just doing it with a bunch of lights around me. So it's different. So we all need to find out new ways to relax. Like, what is going to be your form of disengaging from all of this? Don't forget, you're a human being. You need to relax. Take relaxation seriously. It's not a luxury. You need to relax. You need to regroup in order to do what we're doing. We expended so much energy this year. So whatever that is, finding new ways to relax. You will have consciousness awakenings that literally shatter your previous perspectives. And that's happened for me in many ways. And I know it's happened for many of you. We literally, it's like Rip Van Winkle waking up and saying, oh my God, what do I need to now let go of? Because now I'm seeing something new that I didn't believe before, but now I see it to be true for me here today. So everything is about being present. Now, you might also find that there's tension between people that start to escalate and kind of quickly. So tension between people escalating quickly. The constant feeling that you are divided, and that leads to a lot of inner decision. So, I mean, everything from, here's a good one. Vaccine is out. There's a lot of controversy around that, right? So some people say, yeah, vaccine's out. I want to protect myself. I'm first in line. I'm going to get it. Other people are like, ooh, that's a little too soon. I want to wait. I'm not really sure. And then you're like, no, I don't think I want it, for example. And then now it says, oh, if you travel, you need to get vaccinated or have show the vaccination. Or what if a concert, you need to show vaccination to get in. So we don't know what the future is going to look like, but you will start to have to really get clear on where exactly you stand on everything new. We can't look to the past in order to understand the future as much as we have to trust our intuition. Next one up there that I popped up a little soon is you frequently feel irritable. Whenever we are drained of our energy more than what we're used to, we're going to feel irritable. And you'll feel it. So if you feel it, just blame it on Saturn and Uranus. And there will be a deep personal awareness of the need for balance. You need to balance yourself in an all new way because the surroundings have changed. So this is something I really recommend that you look for. What type of balance do you need? It's different for everyone. One more astrological thing that I want to share, and this has to do with Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius. Now, I don't want you to worry about the planets. I put these pictures up so you kind of understand the vibe. So for the next couple of years, we're going to have this. Saturn, you're already getting the picture of him, solid, dependable, structure. He's the stiff guy. Now, he's a stiff guy. Then we have Jupiter here, and Jupiter is our Santa Claus. And then we have Aquarius. Okay, my slide's taking a little long to go over. And we have on the right side there, that little symbol, that's Aquarius. Now, you don't have to worry about all the details, but these two planets are in the same sector of the sky. The sector of Aquarius is all about innovation. It's like the punk rocker, futuristic. He's creative. So now, imagine, right? You have, I imagine you have Saturn in a room with Santa Claus. I know that's weird. Like, say you have the banker and Santa Claus. They got to talk, and they're in a room, and their job is innovation and be creative. So what we are going to see, a lot of anticipation this year. We are on the precipice of a new era continuously, and simultaneously you'll see old things coming up that need resolving. Creatively, how do we expand and move forward? So this is actually a good energy, I think, for us to have. And here's what you're going to see from it. It brings to you the dawn of a new era of groundbreaking discovery. So we'll see that in the news. You'll see that. And we've been experiencing that anyway. A newfound sense of hope. Think about a chick inside an egg, and the egg cracks open. Before, they were kind of safe and comfortable inside there, had everything they need, but then the egg cracks. And the first feeling like, oh, there's something new here, a little bit scary, but there's hope that there's life outside the egg. We'll see a shift in global consciousness. This is something you'll be able to recognize with fellow people that you resonate with. You will start resonating more and more with who you are, which will attract you more and more to other people that are more likely to resonate with you, and you'll start to shed some of the consciousness that you had before. So I want you to just know that you'll find that some of the same people, events, and situations that you were in 2019, 2020, 2021, you may or may not resume those. And if you're not feeling like it, then remember, now it's all about authenticity and finding your new sense of freedom from obligations. The next one, motivation for us to embody our authenticity. And there's nothing more inspiring than seeing someone who is being authentic to who they are. Fake is so out now. It's so out. Trying to be someone you're not, I'm not saying don't have goals and move towards them, but we want to find out intrinsically within you what those goals are. So if I was going to kind of sum it up, what you will see this year individually, let's start with individually, you'll learn to approach your long-standing blocks from a completely new perspective. Whether you've been trying to lose weight or eat healthier or get a promotion or start something new, whatever it is that you feel you've been blocked on. Now, this year, this 5-year numerology year, 5-year break-free new perspective, you won't live by other people's rules as much as you will focus on being authentic. Think about it. You don't think you live by others' rules, but we do. We subordinate to authority any perceived authority, anybody we think knows more than us, we subordinate to that until we rise to our own level of truth and now choose differently. So you're going to start to really feel better when you trust yourself. You'll want to simplify, downsize, create more efficient systems, carry smaller purses, not buy as much, waste less. Individually, I think this is what you'll see. Collectively, altogether, let's see now. Scientific breakthroughs will continue at breakneck speed. If you didn't see my program last year, the second half, make sure you watch that because things are happening even as we speak. I had been following some of the very futuristic tech kind of things, and though there were a few slowdowns, for the most part, everything is moving as planned. Technology and biology integrate further with AI, augmented reality, and virtual everything, so that continues. And Saturn still restricts our gatherings, right? Remember the rings, but Uranus pushes us towards new ways to connect. And kind of like here today, new ways to connect. I wanted something really different for this talk, and this is a new way, bringing in Jenny from the UK, so she's scribing everything as I talk. It's a new way to connect, right? It's like we can't do it the old way, but we find new ways. Now, you'll also find increased intuition. That's like one thing that you will find. Now, people will say, oh, I trust my gut. I trust my gut. I want to tell you the difference. Like your gut feeling, it's more of what we call like a lower chakra. It's a lower energy. Your gut feeling comes from the past. It's like if you meet a man with a big beard and he hurt you, then when you see another man with a big beard, subconsciously, you might say it's a gut feeling to stay away, but it's actually conditioned from the past. So your gut feelings are different than your intuition. I think of intuition as coming from a place of balance. Your intuition comes from a place of higher wisdom. When we are balanced, our intuition is on. We know what's right for ourselves. So that's why it's so important. Self-care, relaxation, being authentic, taking care of yourself, trusting your intuition. Meaning, increased meaning. Wow, what happened last year when we couldn't do certain things, we found the value in what we really miss. And the things that we thought were important to us, we might not have really missed it. So meaning starts to come up for us more. And synchronicities. I love synchronicities. Synchronicities are just events and people and situations that come at the right time that kind of remind you that there's a bigger picture to all this. I can think of, a simple thing. It could be that you've never, ever been into what the kinds of things I do, but somebody told somebody, you saw an ad, so you jumped on, and now you say, wow, this was meant to be. I got something valuable. You will find synchronicities increasing. And what will decrease as we go through the year is tolerance to inauthenticity. You won't want to deal with people that just aren't true to who they are. You will have a decreased expectation of yourself and others. And what this means is being real, authentic. You can't be someone you're not. And when we expect someone else to be who we want them to be and not who they really are, we get disappointed. And same with ourselves. If we think we're supposed to do something or we're not as far along as we thought we should be, all of that, that will be decreased. I think it's to be more realistic about what is possible, and your desire to accumulate will decrease. Now, I have some guidance to just keep in mind as we go through this year. Now, I just love this picture of the galaxy. Suspend your judgment. How often do we judge? How much are you judging every day, even more and more? People who don't believe the same way you do. People that are not doing the same thing you do. People that are not doing what you want them to do. You not doing what you think you should be doing. It's just a waste of energy. We don't want to worry about that. Stop your judgment. Adopt curiosity. Curiosity is king, because curiosity says, why? Why do you believe that way? Well, could it have been that I was looking at a perspective of it that's not the whole picture? What more? What more? Curiosity is sort of it's really the way to be, especially in times like today. There's too much going on. There's too much information. There's so much we don't know. And so we don't want to lock ourselves into ways of thinking. So adopting curiosity and being open. People say, I'm open, but I want you to be truly open, really open to the possibilities. If I had told you in the beginning of 2020 exactly what would have happened, you would have been like, that was a waste of money. There's no way that could happen. But yet, look, here we are. So be open to all possibilities. Also, I want to say you have your own destiny. Your journey is uniquely yours. Your journey is not anyone else's. You could have gotten through this past year with a minimal amount of discomfort. You could have gone through this past year with your whole life falling apart. The table, the four legs of the table just crashing down. Those who were relatively okay, meaning like they did have to adapt and adjust as we all did, but didn't go through suffering, feel a little bit guilty. So what I'm saying is that if you went through last year and there was a lot of change, but it wasn't scary, horrible, huge change, just know you are in your life in exactly the way it needs to be. You might have had a lot of change a couple years ago. You may have a lot of change in a couple years. So just own where you're at. You have your own destiny. The other thing that's really important for me to share with you is there's no such thing as fear of the unknown. So many people said to me last year, I'm just so afraid of what's coming. Is the world coming to an end? Are people just going to be ugly? What's going on? With everything that's going on, with just everything, I won't even say what, but so much, people have a lot of fear. And so I always say there's no such thing as fear of the unknown. You want to identify your fear. What is it you're afraid of specifically? Whatever it is, list out your fears, whether it's getting sick or losing money or losing a loved one, whatever that is, and then develop a strategy around it to kind of help to ground yourself a little bit. Because if you're just saying, I'm afraid of the unknown, yeah, there's a million things that you could be afraid of, and that could create a lot of havoc inside of you. And it brings me to destiny. Now, I talked a bit about this earlier, but destiny is simply your destination. Sounds very out there. Oh, my destiny. It's simply your destination. And along the winding course of your life, headed towards your destiny, there will be things that you want to do and things that will happen to you. And sometimes things you want to do don't go the way you want it to, and something happens, and you call it fate. You say, oh, fate stepped in and changed my life. That's because it was not meant for you. So closed doors, obstacles, things that seem to not be going well for you, look at it as though that is the turn towards where you need to go. And it's not until later that sometimes we get this insight. So destiny, it sounds so such a big deal, but it's just your destination. And whatever is going on for you right now, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're experiencing, it is the right place for you to go because you are moving towards whatever you are destined for. And remember, we only have this one life, right? We only have hopefully 80, 90, maybe 100, but we only have this one segment of time. And we are living in some really crazy times. And we use the word unprecedented a lot this year. And yet it is an experience. And every single thing that has happened in 2020 is leading you there. Now, I want you to look at this picture. Remember I said lotus is the symbol that I picked for 2021? Beautiful. Underneath all that is a bunch of mud. But the lotus grows through all of that ugliness, through all of that mud, and it rises up to bloom so beautifully. Now, have you heard of a unalome? Do you know what an unalome is? It's a symbol, and you might have seen it. People have it on tattoos, or you might have seen it in other manifestations, but this is what it looks like. It's a unalome. And this symbol represents the path to enlightenment, or it represents wisdom, really, basically. And the spirals that you see, so it starts at the bottom and it spirals out, and that's you starting to evolve and grow. And then the top part is the twists and the turns of life. The straight line is the line that reaches the peace and harmony, and there's the lotus. And so if we look at this year and we look at the lotus as a symbol that we can kind of hold on to, then we understand that it's simply just a journey. I wanted to redraw it, but I didn't want to. I wanted to redraw it because I feel like 2020 took that loop way out there. But it's just a symbol. And so if we take the symbol and put some advice to it, this year, bloom from the very mud you are buried in. We all have a different degree of mud that we're buried in, but this is where you want to recognize that as a lotus, you can still be amazing and beautiful with the mud that's around you. And as for others, let's see if we're going to get my slide. As for others, remember that you can't judge a lotus by its surroundings. Just like people, you can't judge a lotus by their surroundings. Now, and if we're going to take it from the ancient spiritual philosophy and symbolism of the lotus, and we say, you've seen the bottom, now you're ready for the top. So I'm taking you from the old symbolism of the lotus into the future. And I don't think we can get much more futuristic than this. This is a company called Boston Dynamics. And you see the dancing dog? That's the same one that HTD purchased for us to use here in Honolulu. Okay, I had to show that because of all the technology that I did in the past. So the ancient lotus to the future of robots. But I think we can just hold on to this, that if there is no mud, there is no lotus. So I want you to embrace your mud and be the most beautiful lotus you can be this year. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so blessed to be here tonight. Thank you.
Oh man, wasn't that amazing? Can we get another big virtual round of applause for Alice? Let's go, come on, yay! Man, so the thing that I love about Alice is that when she takes all these concepts and things, she puts it into ways that like a normal layman person like myself can understand, giving me examples and metaphors and things. And it just makes it, one, easy to digest, but also two, applicable to my life. And well, I know you guys don't want to hear me talk about this, so let's go ahead and bring back the Happiness U team. So Erin, Kristen, Alice, welcome back. So Erin, what did you think?
I thought that was so awesome. I'm totally looking forward to finding new ways to relax this year.
Yes.
Kristen,
but don't relax
you think?
on the job.
What about you, Kristen?
Yeah, it was really hard for me to pick one thing to highlight right now, but I found it so comforting that all this crazy change was necessary for us to build our foundations and make room for new manifestations and move towards conscious creation and authenticity. So,
yes. And you guys, I know it's the end of coming to the end, but I wanted to show you, here's some graphics that you'll be able to download after the show. So tomorrow, this is scribed by Jenny since we did the interviews early and she was able to draw it and give it to us. So this is downloadable as of tomorrow. You'll get all the information, and then I can't wait to see mine. I saw her scribing on the bottom, but hopefully I'll get that tomorrow, and then we'll share that with you. Now, I know that we went longer than planned. I hope that it was still valuable for you and that you got some really, really good insight. I really felt connected to everyone. I know this is a virtual event, and like I said, there's lights around me and there's just Nolan and Jamie here. But thank you so much for your typing, your chats, your texts. Just so much happened tonight that made me feel like this was really a great event. I want to say thank you to Pop Creative Media, Nolan, Jamie, thank you so much to Empowered Presentations for the presentation. And remember, this year, no mud, no lotus. So be a lotus in 2021. And we all want to just wish you an amazing year and say goodbye to you now. Thank you everyone for joining us. See you again next year.